Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from PaulthePoke.com. Today's topic, we have a Wuhan virus update. We are February 2nd, 2020. Scripture references out of Luke 21, verse 11, part B, and in various places. Famines and pestilences. So we're just going to do a little bit of review over the last few days, a little bit of what's happened, actually a lot of what's happened with the Wuhan virus. The World Health Organization finally declared a global emergency regarding the Wuhan virus. We're just going to call him Dr. Tedros. He's the Director General of the World Health Organization, is calling all countries to work together in a spirit of solidarity and cooperation. We are all in this together, and we can only stop it together. Now, he had a 7-point plan. You guys can read that. It's a pretty short read, but you can click on this link, and it's his speech, his statement regarding the WHO position on the Wuhan virus. Now, there are members of the WHO who are upset with the United States and the United States approach with President Trump. And they declared a public health emergency on Friday, the 31st. And here's a statement from the director of the CDC, Robert Redfield. And I find this pretty interesting. And here's the quote from Mr. Redfield. "I want to emphasize that this is a serious health situation in China. But I want to emphasize that the risk to the American public is currently low. Our goal is to do all we can do to keep it that way." Now, this is a big change from, quote, experts on when these little things start to happen. Usually it's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. It's not a big deal. Let's not overreact. Let's not overreach. And we have the director of the CDC saying, hey, this is a serious health situation in China, and we're keeping people from going to China and from China. And if you're coming from this area, we're going to quarantine you for at least 2 weeks to make sure you're asymptomatic. So this is a big change in response. And I even saw this morning, looking through headlines, military housing is being set up for folks suspected with the Wuhan virus. And that's military housing in the United States, was the comment. So this deal's escalating, not showing any signs of slowing. We'll get to the numbers of it later in this post. The Wuhan virus is also it's starting to make an economic impact on global markets. Friday, the Dow Jones Industrial closed down 603 points, or down 2.1% to 28,256. And this is a tweet I found on Twitter, and I thought it was very good, showing China's impact as far as the consumption of goods, compared to the rest of the planet. And then this was this morning. Chinese financial regulators are set to provide $173 billion of liquidity when their markets open, what would be Monday, February 3rd, or tomorrow. Now, in our time, that would be around 6 o'clock, about the time the Super Bowl kicks off. But they're ready with a big package of cash and aid to prop up the markets. So and $173 billion is not exactly chump change. So they have significant concerns. And here's the tweet, and it's from Raoul Paul. "Sometimes global macro investing comes down to a single focus, the moment when all factors in a big and complex framework of understanding can be filtered out, because one factor overwhelms all others." Well, it looks like in this case, the Wuhan virus is reaching that point. And this is from a person who's on the ground in China. He lives in Shanghai. He says everything's shut down. Shanghai's east of where Wuhan is, about 200 or 300 miles. And they're shut down in Shanghai. Nobody's doing anything, he says. Nobody's leaving their house. Nobody's going to work. And just look at the difference between now and, say, 2002-3 was when SARS hit. I believe that's correct. If not, I'm in error. But the point is, 16, 17 years later, oil consumption, then 6.6, now 13.5. Steel consumption, almost half of the world's steel consumption comes out of China. Over half of the world's copper consumption comes out of China. Almost 60% of the world's aluminum consumption comes out of China. This is a big deal, and if they're not doing anything, prices are getting ready to plummet. Things are going down. It's just gravity. It has to. Also checked in with our financial expert, economic expert Michael DeVille. He's weighed in on the impact of the Wuhan virus. And he thinks it may be a tipping point for the global economy. And he's been monitoring, if you guys have been following, he's been commenting, we've got a slowing global economy for at least the last 6 months. He follows shipping indexes, the Baltic Dry Index, shipping indexes around the planet. It's slowing. The yield curve in the bond market inverted. Interest rates continue to go down. And again, these things indicate a slowing economy. And he also is hearing the same thing. Economic activity is halting across China because of the Wuhan virus. So Michael likes gold, silver, bonds, rental properties. As always, he recommends you check with your financial consultant. And you want to hear his comments? He's got about 6 minutes worth of comments. Click on this link and you can listen to what he has to say about it. And for you who have been following, Michael's been spot on. He knows his stuff. He knows people. Interviews top economic experts across the planet. Dr. Charles Nenner is an example. He's well worth listening to. If nothing else, just process it, take it in. Great information as always. And then we look at some different businesses. These are various. I was just looking at the internet, and these are some just different headlines, different things you're seeing across headlines around global news publications. You have things like Apple, Google, Starbucks, IKEA, Tesla. They're closing operations and stores in China. Global airlines are suspending flights in and out of China, and those are from all over the world, different airlines. The U.S. State Department has alerted Americans not to travel to China. Other countries limiting travel to China include Japan, Australia, Vietnam, Qatar, Turkmenistan, Singapore, and New Zealand. China's upset with this, and they call it, quote, mean. We're being mean, telling people not to go to China. North Korea and Russia have closed their borders to China, with China. So here's a link from the New York Times. They're providing live updates on the Wuhan virus as news becomes available. They update this page, and it's loaded with all kinds of information. It's very well done. And they also have an embedded reporter in Wuhan, and she's tweeting and showing what things are like on the ground in Wuhan. So you can click on this link and take you to the New York Times. And then we got some different types of things emerging from different parts of the world. Out of New Zealand, suppressed death numbers, coronavirus, China accused of burning bodies in secret. So you can click on this. This is out of New Zealand. But the thinking is they're taking them and having bodies cremated. One, it keeps the death count down and also stops the spread of the disease is what they're getting at. China, of course, is denying this, but you're starting to see more publications of this from different news outlets. The New York Post has published an article indicating there may be as many as 75,000 already infected. And again, other news outlets globally are indicating the same. So these things are not one-off situations where you got some rogue news agency reporting some fringe news story. You're starting to see more and more of these stories pop up. So keep your eyes awake and alert to these types of things as well. And as of this morning, here are the latest update numbers regarding the spread of the virus. Allegedly, depending on who and what you believe. We have 14,549 infected worldwide, 305 deaths. Had the first death reported outside of China in the Philippines. We still have at least 60 million people that remain quarantined in China. And the virus is now reported in at least 25 countries. So keep your eyes alert to this. This story's not going away, and this appears to be escalating. And the numbers they're hockey sticking. They're not trending off. And this thing's ahead of projections. this is a big deal. Now, fortunately, it looks like the death rate to this so far is 2 to 3% of those infected end up passing. Not that that makes it any better or okay, but it's a significant health deal. And this story, is probably going to be lasting well into the spring. Probably going to be looking at continuing to do posts on this as new information becomes available. So, and it's going to be primarily under the category of pestilence. Click on pestilence here. Also scroll down to the far right side under categories, and then you could come down to pestilence and track it here. So if you enjoy this, please feel free to share it with others. Tell everybody about PaulthePoke.com, and then also you could type in your name. There should be this little black box or gray box, kind of fades in and out, but you can type your email address in here and receive notification every time we put something up. And so appreciate you all following along. Have a happy Groundhog's Day and a Super Bowl Sunday. Go Chiefs. Talk to you later. Bye.